Let's now talk about state exhaustion attacks. I'm so exhausted. And let's start with the very first classic one, the TCP state exhaustion attack. We are going to consume all permitted connections. So we could be targeting a web server, an application server, or even a load balancer or a firewall that's trying to manage the traffic to that server. Let's start with the good old classic SYN flood. Now remember how I said that a TCP connection starts with a three-way handshake. The client sends SYN, the server goes SYN-ACK, the client says ACK. Okay. The server should be configured either deliberately or by default with, hey, maximum number of TCP connections at any one time. Anything after that, don't accept it until somebody else hangs up. So with the SYN flood, also known as a half-open attack, we're going to send thousands of SYN packets to a target, but the source address will be spoofed. So while the web server gets all these SYN packets from all these non-existent IP addresses, it's trying to SYN-ACK back to these who aren't going to respond. So that's a SYN flood. It's kind of like playing Ding Dong Ditch. Did you ever do that as a kid? Ding Dong Ditch is so much fun. You go and ring the guy's doorbell and you run and you hide behind a car. And the guy comes out, he's looking all around, and he finally times out and closes the door. But in the meantime, you've wasted his time while you're laughing, right? SYN flood. So the server gets all these spoofed SYN packets. It replies with SYN-ACKs to IP addresses that are not live or that never did this. They're of course not going to send back an ACK to complete the handshake. And the server has to wait to time out for every one of these attempted connections. And like I said, servers are usually configured to only allow a limited number of concurrent connections. This consumes all the permitted connections, and the legitimate client requests are ignored. Here's an example of a SYN flood. I will use a bot to send spoofed SYN packets, tons and tons of them, to a client who's trying to respond back to IP addresses that have either don't exist, are not live, or have no idea what this poor server is talking about. Then there's SSL TLS exhaustion. We're going to send garbage SSL TLS data to the server, and it'll run out of resources trying to process corrupt SSL handshakes. You know, for HTTPS, which now uses TLS, but SSL was the predecessor, it has to set up a handshake to agree upon a session key. So it'll use its public key, and then the client is supposed to send its public key, and between the two of them they agree upon a session key good for that session. But we're going to send garbage, and the server is wasting its energy trying to process SSL handshakes that aren't going to be processable. Firewalls generally cannot distinguish legitimate or phony SSL data. Good. Then there's the old NX domain flood. And what this is we're going to send a whole bunch of requests to a DNS server for things that actually don't exist. And the DNS server is going to waste a lot of time trying to find out IP addresses for host names and resources that don't actually exist. And meantime, legitimate DNS clients are getting ignored. And the server is going to end up with a cache full of bad requests, and clients won't be able to find the servers or the sites that they want to go to. So that is a state exhaustion type attack. Now let's move on to the next one.